Thank you. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Naomi, and thank you, Rob and Bina, for those remarks that really helped frame the conversation about the incredibly tough situation that the early care and education sector is in. And for those of you who are living this situation day in and day out, huge thank you to you all for continuing to stay with us through this incredibly difficult time. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about LIIF and what LIIF was able to do in response to the pandemic to help support mostly home-based early care and early care educators. Okay, so let's see. There we go. So our vision and mission at LIIF is that everybody in the United States should benefit from living in a community of opportunity, equity, and well-being. And what we do is mobilize capital and partners to achieve this vision for people and communities. And as Bina was saying earlier, we are really putting a renewed emphasis on looking at social justice and racial equity to help repair some of the damage that's been done in the past. And you can see how this really plays out in the early care and education sector. So LIIF is a community development financial institution. And for those of you who may not be familiar with those kinds of entities, as I was not as familiar before I came to work at LIIF, we're a nonprofit, but we're also a financial institution. And the main part of what we do is we take money from investors, banks, and other partners, and we work with community partners at the community level to lend that money out to build low-income housing, to build healthy food financing initiatives, schools. And then in the case of early care and education, because as Bina and Rob said, you can imagine that the ECE sector doesn't have a lot of ability to take on debt. So what LIIF does in the geographies where we work is we provide grants. And so in the over 20 years that we've been doing the work in mostly San Francisco, Washington, DC, and New York City, we've been able to create or preserve 273,000 spaces and invest over $169 million. And I wanted to put this slide in about 90% of a child's brain happens before the age of 5, just to help center us all in how incredibly important this is, not just to the economy, but also to the development of children's brains. So many of you who are doing this work every day, you're brain builders. Your work is incredibly important and why it is crucial for us to invest in this age of child and for the families. So the kind of work that we provide is grant administration wrapped up with a lot of technical assistance because early care and education providers do not have a lot of experience with facilities development. So when we work with early care and education providers, we really help support their business skills and real estate projects to ensure that they can have a successful experience. And then we promote supportive policies to look at how we can reduce land use barriers and improve policies. Additionally, we are also playing a role around facilities in the California Governor's Master Plan for Early Learning and Care, and doing other work in counties like we've done in Sonoma County and San Luis Obispo County. We also use innovative financing like New Markets tax credits to improve and expand the supply of early care and education. And then I'm going to talk to you about the COVID relief program. So what we did when the pandemic hit is we talked to our grantees and asked them what they needed. The first thing that we realized is that home-based educators, family childcare educators, were the ones that were going to be hit disproportionately hard because they rely more on the private market. And Head Start providers and many state providers, that money was still flowing to them, but for home-based providers relying on the private market, that was not happening. And their reduction in income and in enrollment was very significant. The other thing that we realized is that they needed some additional technical support to understand which products were out there could best meet their needs. So in terms of numbers, COVID-19 is threatening the permanent loss of roughly half the nation's childcare businesses. And as Bina had said before, these businesses, the majority of them are owned and operated by women of color. So what we did is we were able to successfully marshal 3 different types of resources. The first one was the payroll protection program. Now, this financial product was not always the best one for the early care and education field because of the way it was offered. But what we found is that when we partnered with another institution, the Community Reinvestment Fund, to really help providers understand and apply for the funding, they were more successful. When they first applied just through their regular banks, many of them were not successful. They were kind of put at the end of the line or not given the response that they needed. But when we partnered with an institution that focused on small businesses, we were able to put $6.6 million into the hands of small centers and family childcare providers. And that was very helpful. And in a moment, I'm going to show you a video of one of our recipients and their reaction to receiving a PPP loan. We also were able to marshal $3.2 million in philanthropic funds in all of our geographies because those providers needed additional operations grants. And then finally, with our government funders, notably the District of Columbia and San Francisco, we were able to repurpose almost $3 million from facilities grants to operations grants, because we may have already given a facilities grant to a program, but if that program isn't able to remain open because of COVID, the facilities investment is not going to be useful. So we were able to repurpose that for operations grants. And then just within the last 10 days, we were also notified that we are going to be administering the City of Los Angeles CARES Act grant for childcare providers in the City of Los Angeles. And that is providing an additional $10 million of support to that community. So what I want to say is that we were not the only institution doing this. There were other institutions doing this. It is not enough. We need to do more. As Rob was saying, we need to ensure that there is a chorus of voices focusing on this field and supporting this field to ensure that their work is recognized. So we also work with Build Up California, which is a statewide network dedicated to sustaining and improving the supply of early learning facilities, and the National Children's Facilities Network, which is a coalition of stakeholders involved in planning, developing, and financing high quality early care and education facilities and business models, and encourage you to look at both of those resources. And so I'm going to show you the video of Luis Gallego. He is the son of, oh, you know what, I'm going to, hold on, I'm going to stop sharing just for a moment so I can reshare and have my sound optimized so you can hear this video. So Luis is the son of an early care and education home-based provider, and he's the son, and he's an operations manager. And he talks about here, there were 2 videos that we could have shown you, but I'm going to show you what the second one that I'm not showing you is how he literally cried when he found out that his mother got the payroll protection program loan. Here, this video tells you a little bit about how one early care and education small business really has a ripple effect on the economy.
Funding is extremely important. We don't know what the economical situation is going to be in the future. It's been tough, it's been rough, it's been a very difficult couple of months, and it could get worse if this drags on for a very long time. The funding is not only going to be important to sustain the business, it's going to be important because everybody who's going to be under the business is going to be able to keep receiving that economical assistance. That is going to be able to continue receiving a paycheck that is, in most of the time, is if all they have to pay their rent, utilities, or even food. So it's a domino effect. The fact that small businesses or childcare daycares or centers receive funding, it helps a lot of people. It helps a lot of employees. It helps a lot of contractors, and it helps a lot of parents. So it goes up and down. It helps everybody. funding is extremely important. We don't know.
So you can see here how important it is to provide this support. And so we just have a few quotes here from a couple of other providers. Alice Mulligan says, it's been a godsend to learn that there are people looking out for us. We're so used to being at the end of the line. And Angelica Guerrero from San Francisco talks about, this is our business and it's also our home. And so by supporting these providers, we're supporting their homes as well as their business. I just want to end by saying that if you take away nothing else today, early care and education is small business and it is a public good. And some of our solutions are to look at public funding, multi-sector partnership, and policy changes in order to make sure our economy can get back on track. And when it is safe, our early childhood educators can return to work and get the economy going again. So thank you, and back to Naomi.